In this video, I want to make the case on why Joe Biden is better for your wallet than Donald Trump, and why the wealth gap and why the future of your finances are going to be in much better shape, not only over the short term, but over the long term. And the long term is what I want to focus on. So I'm gonna get there at the end, but let me just explain this. This is what a lot of people don't understand. The 30-year S&P 500 return. There's this calculator online. Here's the source for this. Here's an example right here. May 1994 to May 2024. We got a rate of over 10.5%. Okay, so 1650 turns into $33,000. There's a reason why I'm using 1650. I'll explain that in a little bit. So here's another example. This is when Trump was president, 1650, in invested in March of 1989. Ends up being well under 30,000. Rate of return of 10% per year, a little bit over that. So here's now a comparison: 2008, 2009 market crash. Here we've got 1650 invested in 2008. To see how you lose more than 40% of what you've invested. That includes, these all include dividends too, by the way. And here you can see March of 1979 to March of 2009, you still get a rate of return over 10%. Here's another example of a market crash. You can see if I invested in December of 1973 and then sold in December of 1974, we lose money again. And then here is 30-year return, again over 10%. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this. So here's why in the past you haven't been able to participate in these returns, regardless of whether you have invested in the short term and maybe are just using the 4% rule or investing long term. There's a reason why you haven't got these returns. And one of the reasons is the safe harbor IRAs, or what I like to refer to them as mass financial destruction accounts. Okay? And I'll explain why. It's because when you leave your job and you don't reach $5,000, and this was set during the Bush tax cuts, what happens is the old 401k provider, after 6 months, has the option of kicking you out of the plan. Now, if you're under $1,000, they'll simply mail you a check to your house. If you never, or say, if you're over 1,000 but never reach 5,000, they can kick you out of the account and put you into a safe harbor IRA in a cash position. Is almost all the time where it goes. Okay. And then you have to, and then if there is any options to invest, you actually have to go in there and make the investment. Well, most people don't feel comfortable doing that. That's. I think the first reason why people sign up for 401k is the company match, right? The second reason is they don't know what they're doing, so they want somebody to do it for them. So they just select a percentage, saying this is how much I can afford to save, and you do the rest. You do the rest, right? Well, if you don't hit $5,000, you lose that. Okay. The retirement clearinghouse, you go Google this, they say this is affected $1.5 trillion worth of wealth. I think it's higher than that. I think that's a lowball estimate because I think that's based on 60/40 or target date funds. As you can see, what I just showed you, the rate of return over the, I think we could be getting more efficiency there. So in 1984, um, we that same amount of money, 1650, turns into $4,979.35. And the reason why I picked 1984 is, say that this is the college years. Somebody who starts in 1980, and then leaves their job in 1984. Maybe they worked full time actually during college. Okay, so 1650 would be eligible to be kicked out. You know how much 1650 turns into if you go from 1984 to now? Over 130,000, 132,000 if you just follow the S&P 500. So here's been and then by the way, the average boomer, I should also mention, has got about $230,000 in their 401k. So that 1650 that could get gotten thrown out, that's over half the amount of money that the average boomer has in their retirement account. Um, so here's and I found that statistic by the way on I think it was um what's that show called, Morning something, or the uh one of those YouTube shows that CBS, like CBS This Morning, or there was this the Daily Morning Show or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was one of those just recently where I saw that $230,000 statistic. So anyway, the Secure Act 2.0, this solves the problem I just mentioned on the last few slides. So what it does, first off, it has auto portability. So it doesn't mandate auto portability, but it basically paves the way to do exactly that. And the Retirement Clearinghouse has got all the major 401k providers to auto port. So the only thing that's left for the employee is just to find a job before those 6 months so they don't get rolled over into a safe harbor IRA. So I know what some people are thinking, well, that's their fault, that person did a lousy job. But you remember, in order for this to kick in, you have to find a job. Otherwise, yes, you can roll it over, you can put it into an IRA. There's nothing that prevents you from doing that. It's just that back when I had to do it, I found the form very confusing, and I probably knew more about investing than most people did. I'm not saying I was an expert by any means, but I knew more than the average. Um, so I don't think a lot of people are going to want to deal with that rollover form. Um, and then also it mandates auto enrollment. So anybody who's onboarded at their job in 2023 or later, beginning in 2025, that employer has to onboard you if they offer a 401k or some other retirement plan that qualifies under this. And then the other thing that's really nice is it allows you to contribute to your 401k and then also use that money to pay down your student debt. I should have put down student debt here. And then you still get to keep the employer match. Now, it doesn't mandate this, it allows it to happen. So I don't know if they'll implement this in plans or not. And then the other thing that I didn't mention on here is there's also an emergency account provision where you can save up to a certain amount. It's only a few thousand. I, uh, and basically, you can use the money however you want. You can take it out penalty free. So that's really nice. The emergency fund account. So, but the bottom line here is that people have not been able to participate in the rate of returns of what the S&P 500 does over a long period of time because of this safe harbor IRA. And this has been alleviated with the Secure Act. I want to point this out. This got passed in late December, or I'm sorry, late in the year in 2022 in December. It might have been late December, but it was mostly passed by the Democrats, and Joe Biden signed it. There were a few Republicans that did go along with it, but for the most part, the Republicans voted against it. They railed against the bill. Um, so people who think that we're going towards socialism or the rich are getting richer or all these kinds of things, guys, I say this is nonsense. Look at what happened in the 90s when Bill Clinton took over. The Democratic Party moved more into center. We had more moderate Democrats. And the reason why Bernie and some of these people have shooken up things so much is because some of the people at the very bottom, the working class at the very bottom, have fallen behind. And one of the reasons is the private um, the private retirement insurance market has failed people, failed these people in particular, the ones that have enough money to get to 5,000. They're not going to be affected. And by the way, I should also point out too that the new number is going to be $7,000. But again, there's auto affordability, so it will help. So um, it will help more people. And also want to point out too that they don't have to go by this number. Some do though. Some 401k providers do go by these numbers. Um, some of them, some of them do not. Okay, so I have one where I have 4,300. I left 4,300 in. They let me keep my investments there. They weren't going to touch it. But I have another one, and I'm not going to mention who they are, where they require, in my case, the $5,000 number. So again, I want to mention Joe Biden signed this Secure Act into a law which fixes those problems. The Republicans mostly voted against it. And this is not to mention the infrastructure bill, all the bridges that are being built in heavy congested areas that are going to get completed. A lot of them are going to get completed this year and then over the next few years. And I want you guys to think about this. Uh, Joe Biden and this is the biggest accomplishment. They are better for your wallet than the Republicans.